They told you that being understood is power. They lied. The greatest minds, the most feared rulers, and the most untouchable men in history all shared one thing: they were misunderstood. In a world that worships clarity, I will show you why confusion is the perfect disguise, and how being misread gives you absolute control over those desperate to define you. They watch you, they judge you, they try to name you, and in doing so, they believe they know you. But understanding is a weapon. The moment they can predict your thoughts, your next move, your desires, you cease to be dangerous. The wise learn early that clarity is a form of surrender. To be misunderstood is to remain untouchable. A shadow moving through the minds of others, never where they expect you to be. This is not about deception for its own sake. It is about preserving power through mystery. Let them misjudge you. Let them talk. Their certainty becomes their blindness, and in their blindness you build your throne. They say clarity is strength, but that is a lie whispered by the weak, by those who want to know where your blade is before it strikes. Power does not live in transparency. It hides in the fog. It thrives in silence, half-truths, and shifting shadows. You see, the more predictable you are, the easier it is for others to build walls against you. A clear man is a readable book, and every readable book can be burned, rewritten, or closed. But a man wrapped in ambiguity, he cannot be cornered. He cannot be easily defeated. Think of it: what terrifies people most? Not pain, not loss, but uncertainty. The unknown is the oldest fear in the human mind, and that fear is the very soil where dominance grows. In politics, in relationships, in war, the same law applies. The one who controls perception controls power, and perception is most easily controlled when others cannot quite figure out who you are or what you want. Consider Caesar. He walked among his enemies with a smile that concealed 1,000 calculations. To some, he appeared merciful, to others, ruthless. Each saw only what they wanted to see, and that was his advantage. His ambiguity made him untouchable, until envy did what understanding could not: destroy him. Or take the prince of Renaissance courts, surrounded by flatterers and spies. He could not afford to be clear, for clarity meant exposure. He learned to speak in riddles, to give answers that meant everything and nothing at once. The wise called him cautious. The foolish called him cunning. Both were right, and both were blind. The psychological truth is simple: people crave certainty more than they crave truth. They will fill the gaps in your silence with their own imagination, and their imagination is far more powerful than any story you could invent. When you speak plainly, you limit their perception. But when you speak with layers, when your words invite multiple interpretations, you give them something far more dangerous: projection. They will project their hopes, their fears, their fantasies onto you. And in that projection, they become entangled in you. Ambiguity, then, is not confusion, it is control. It is a form of psychological manipulation so subtle that most never notice it. It forces others to dance around you, trying to decode what cannot be decoded. While they interpret, you act. While they debate your meaning, you move in silence. In this way, ambiguity becomes both a sword and a shield. A sword, because it cuts through assumptions and blindsides your opponents. A shield, because it hides your weaknesses beneath a cloak of mystery. Observe how leaders use this. When a ruler makes a statement that can be read in two ways, his enemies divide in their interpretation. Some grow fearful, others overconfident. Division spreads, and the ruler, silent, watching, remains above the chaos he has quietly created. Even in personal life, this law remains unbroken. The man who is always honest about his feelings, his goals, his plans, is easily managed. He gives his opponents a map. But the man who reveals only fragments, who smiles at what others call unpredictable, he cannot be controlled. He keeps people guessing. And the one who guesses cannot attack with precision. Ambiguity is the art of making others uncertain without appearing deceptive. It's the power of saying, perhaps, where others demand yes or no. It's the pause before an answer. It's the unreadable expression that makes others hesitate before they strike. Because hesitation, my friend, is worth more than trust. Trust binds people to you temporarily. Hesitation keeps them from moving against you at all. Ask yourself, in your life, do people fully understand you? Do they know what drives you, what wounds you, what you truly desire? If they do, you are already disarmed. They can predict your reactions, manipulate your emotions, and pull the strings of your pride. But if they cannot read you, if they second, guess your intentions, then you are the one in control. Their confusion becomes your protection. Their uncertainty becomes your weapon. Never underestimate the power of silence, the strength of a vague promise, or the brilliance of a smile that hides more than it reveals. For the most powerful men in history did not dominate through volume. They ruled through suggestion. A whisper can command more fear than a shout if no one knows what it means. Ambiguity is not weakness. It is the highest form of strategy, the art of letting others believe they understand you, while you quietly rewrite the game they think they're playing. And in the next lesson, you will see how to turn that misunderstanding into a shield so strong that even truth itself cannot pierce it. Power often lies not in being seen clearly, but in being seen wrong. To be misinterpreted is not a flaw of communication, it is a deliberate act of strategy. When they misunderstand you, they disarm themselves. The wise do not rush to correct false perceptions. They let others build their own illusions, brick by brick, until those illusions become a fortress that protects the truth within. Think of it. How often have you tried to explain yourself to someone, only to find that their version of you was stronger than your words? People believe what comforts them, not what confronts them. So why fight it? Why not turn their delusion into armor? Every ruler, every manipulator, every mind that ever held influence understood this. They learned to survive not by being understood, but by being strategically misread. Consider Napoleon. To his allies, he was a savior of liberty. To his enemies, a tyrant. To the people, a myth. Each faction believed its own story, and that is why he could rule them all. He did not waste his breath explaining himself. He let their fantasies do the work. To be misinterpreted is to create layers of perception. Each person sees only what they can comprehend, and in that limitation they expose their mind. The fool will call you arrogant. The envious will call you cold. The weak will call you cruel. But all you have done is reflect their own fears back at them. The psychological truth is simple: people are addicted to meaning. They cannot look at an action, a silence, or a face without assigning intention. They need a story to feel secure. So when you remain still, when your motives are unclear, they write the story for you, and that story becomes the perfect disguise. The more they misinterpret you, the more they reveal about themselves. Their assumptions, their values, their fears, all become visible. And while they try to read you, you are already reading them. This is why you must resist the temptation to defend your name. The moment you try to explain, you give them power. You validate their perception, even as you fight it. Let them whisper, let them doubt. Let them build a version of you they can understand, while the real you moves unseen behind it. The church did this for centuries. It allowed mysticism, rumor, and fear to shape its aura. It did not need to prove divine authority. It simply allowed the people's imagination to do the work. Fear of damnation maintained obedience better than any law ever could. A myth defended them better than an army. So too can it defend you. The misunderstood man is not alone. He is protected. The image others invent becomes his armor. When they believe you are harmless, you move freely. When they think you are dangerous, they stay away. Either way, their misunderstanding becomes your shield. But here lies the art: to control which misunderstanding they adopt. Too much ambiguity breeds chaos. Too much silence invites suspicion. You must guide the misinterpretation gently, like a hand steering a candle flame. Feed them fragments, hints. Let them think they've figured you out, just enough to feel safe in their illusion. History rewards those who shape their own myth. Look at Talleyrand, the silver-tongued diplomat who survived revolutions, kings, and empires. Each regime believed he was loyal to them, And he was, for as long as it served his purpose. They called him treacherous. He called himself patient. Misinterpretation shielded him through every storm, and in modern life, the same law applies. Your reputation is not built by your truth. It is built by their perception. The clever man stops trying to manage truth. He manages perception. Ask yourself, who are you when no one truly knows your motives? Who are you when others think they've seen through you, but in truth, they've only touched the surface? That is the moment of power, because when others stop questioning their interpretation, they stop questioning your control. You can even turn slander into a shield. When they call you ruthless, they warn others not to cross you. When they call you emotionless, they save you the burden of unnecessary sympathy. Their judgments become tools in your arsenal, each rumor a guard at your gate. Remember, the misunderstood man must not seek validation. He must learn to watch, to let others write his legend while he rewrites their fate. For every false story told about you adds another layer to your mask, and the thicker the mask, the safer the man beneath it. The masses crave definition. You must remain undefined. Let them talk, and in their talking, let them become blind. Because when the crowd believes it understands you, you have already mastered them. And now, we move to the next principle, where misunderstanding does not just protect you. It begins to ensnare those who seek to define you. Men crave the illusion of understanding. They cannot rest until they've placed a label upon you, pinned you down, and reduced your complexity to a single word. Friend, enemy, genius, fool. It comforts them to believe they know you, and that comfort is their weakness. Definition is not truth, it is control. The moment they define you, they stop observing you. Their curiosity dies, and with it, their vigilance. To be defined is to be captured. To remain undefined is to be free. Look around. The world is built on labels: political, moral, personal. Society tells you that clarity earns respect, that people will trust you if you show them who you are. But what does trust mean in a world that feeds on perception? It means surrendering the very weapon that could have protected you: uncertainty. The clever never fight to be understood. They allow others to imprison themselves inside their own definitions of you. Because once they think they know you, they stop adapting, and you begin to control the game. Consider Leonardo da Vinci. Painter, engineer, philosopher, anatomist, and yet to his peers, an eccentric dreamer. They tried to define him, but he lived beyond every label they invented, and that was his brilliance. Because no one could fully categorize him, no one could control him. He moved between worlds: art and science, beauty and weaponry, untouched by the limitations others accepted. Or take a more ruthless example, Cesare Borgia. To the church, he was a nobleman. To the people, a tyrant. To his soldiers, a god of war. Each group defined him differently, and in doing so, each became blind to the full scope of his power. They saw fragments, not the whole. And it was within those fragments that he operated, unseen and unbound. Psychologically, this works because the human mind seeks cognitive closure. Ambiguity breeds anxiety, and the weak cannot live with it. They need to categorize, to simplify, to feel safe. So they create boxes in which to place you. And when you refuse to fit, they panic. Their confusion becomes your control. You see, the moment they define you, they stop seeing you as a threat. They stop studying you. They believe the game is over. And that is when you strike. Think of your own life. How many times have people decided who you are before truly knowing you? They judged your calm as arrogance, your silence as weakness, your ambition as cruelty. And in their rush to define you, they exposed their own nature, not yours. You can use this. Let them create their own illusions of you, and then act in ways that contradict those illusions. A man who is seen as gentle can afford a moment of ruthlessness without suspicion. A man known for ruthlessness can offer mercy and buy loyalty at a fraction of its cost. Each identity they project becomes a mask, and behind those masks you maneuver unseen. In diplomacy, this tactic wins empires. A leader who appears naive gains information others would never share. An official dismissed as irrelevant overhears the plans of the proud. Definition blinds. Ambiguity reveals. There's also a deeper form of control hidden here, mental real estate. When they define you, they carry an image of you inside their minds. You become a living presence within them, a figure they debate, doubt, and discuss. You occupy their thoughts without effort. You control their attention, the first resource of power. And the more they discuss who you are, the less they question what you're doing. The masses analyze the man, while the man rewrites the world. That is the secret the powerful understand. Your reputation is a weapon, but your definition is a cage. So never let them know what drives you. Never confirm or deny their theories. Feed both truth and falsehood until they blend into myth. Even philosophers fall into this trap. They spend lifetimes trying to define virtue, justice, truth, and yet none can agree. Why? Because the moment you define something, you kill its depth. Definition ends the search, and those who stop searching become predictable, lifeless. You must be the opposite. You must remain a moving target, a contradiction, an enigma they can never quite solve. When they think they've found your core, change shape. When they believe you are moral, be strategic. When they call you cold, show compassion. Calculated compassion. Each contradiction weakens their certainty and strengthens your mystery. Remember, the power of the undefined man is not in deception. It is in evolution. He grows faster than others can categorize. He lives in the space between expectation and reality. And from that space, he commands all who need simplicity to feel safe. So ask yourself, what definitions do others hold about you right now? Are you who they think you are? Or have you already moved beyond their comprehension? Because once they define you, they stop watching. And once they stop watching, you are free to strike unseen. And in the next lesson, you will see how that very uncertainty, that endless question mark you become, turns hesitation into submission. The greatest power is not in being loved, nor even in being feared. It is in being unreadable. When they cannot decipher you, they cannot predict you. And when they cannot predict you, they cannot control you. The mysterious man commands attention without asking for it. His silence echoes louder than the words of 1,000 flatterers, because uncertainty is the birthplace of fascination and fear. In every human interaction, the mind seeks patterns. It wants to know, what will this person do next? But the moment they think they have you figured out, their respect begins to die. Predictability breeds comfort, and comfort breeds contempt. You must become the opposite. A creature of subtlety, a walking question mark. Let your actions contradict your image. Let your motives remain half hidden, your emotions unreadable. This is not deceit. It is strategy. The art of keeping your power alive through mystery. Think of the kings of old who wrapped themselves in ritual. Their gestures, their silence, even the way they turned their gaze. All carefully designed to keep their subjects guessing. They spoke little, revealed less, and in their restraint became divine. The people feared them not because of cruelty, but because of uncertainty. They could not predict when mercy would become wrath, and so they obeyed. Even in the modern world, this law has not faded. Consider the corporate leader who never raises his voice, yet whose smallest glance can unnerve a room. His power is not in his authority. It is in the aura of unpredictability he projects. His subordinates overthink every word, every silence, until they become prisoners of their own analysis. That is the psychological root of enigma. It forces others to fill in the blanks themselves. They start building stories to explain you And those stories quickly turn into chains that bind their behavior. One person imagines you as ruthless, another as wise, another as dangerous. Each acts according to their illusion, and all obey the myth, not the man. Do you see the brilliance in that? When people cannot read you, they begin to shape themselves around what they imagine you to be. They become cautious, respectful, even fearful. And all without you lifting a finger. But to wield this kind of power, you must master your own nature first. You cannot be mysterious if you are desperate to be understood. You cannot be unreadable if your emotions spill from your face. Control your expressions. Let your words be deliberate. Every silence should feel intentional, every smile a question. The art lies in balance. Too much mystery, and they will flee from you. Too little, and they will dismiss you. Walk the fine line between revelation and concealment, between light and shadow. Let them see enough to believe, but never enough to know. Alexander the Great understood this instinctively. His soldiers worshipped him, not merely for victory, but for his aura of otherworldliness. He claimed divine descent, acted with calm when others panicked, and stared into chaos as if he saw destiny itself. His mystery was his crown, one forged not from gold, but from perception. Psychologically, people are drawn to what they cannot define. They call it charisma, presence, or magnetism. But in truth, it is simply distance. The tension of the unknown. The human mind, when denied clarity, becomes obsessed. It wants to solve the puzzle, to find the pattern. And as they search for your meaning, they lose their own. You must become that puzzle. Speak when silence would confuse them most. Smile when they expect anger. Disappear when they crave your presence. Your unpredictability will create dependence. They will need your approval, your reactions, your attention, because they no longer understand you. And the moment others depend on your mystery, you possess them. You become the center of their mental orbit, a sun around which their uncertainty revolves. They analyze every gesture, trying to decode you, never realizing that this obsession is your invisible leash. Remember, to rule minds, you must remain partly in shadow. Familiarity dissolves awe. The more they see behind your mask, the less they respect it. Even kings lose their thrones the moment their humanity becomes too visible. So, conceal intention behind calm. Let others feel your distance, your silence, your stillness, and interpret it as power. The more they project onto your mystery, the larger you grow in their imagination. And imagination, not truth, governs the world. Ask yourself, are you too easy to read? Do people know what you'll say, how you'll react, what you'll do next? If they do, you have already surrendered the battlefield of perception. To regain it, you must become the fog they cannot walk through. Not deceitful, strategic. Not emotionless, unreachable. Because true power does not shout. It whispers from behind a veil. And in the next lesson, you will learn how to make that veil your enigma. Not just protect you, but command the world's belief. Power is not built on truth. It is built on perception, and perception is a story, a myth. One you must write, edit, and defend with precision. The weak live their truth openly. The strong sculpt their truth into legend. They understand that the world does not crave honesty. It craves symbols. People follow not reality, but the myth they choose to believe. Every powerful figure in history understood this law. Caesar became a god in the minds of his people before he ever wore a crown. Napoleon was not merely a general, he was destiny wrapped in flesh. Even their enemies fought the idea of them more than the men themselves. This is the power of controlled chaos. When your legend grows beyond your control, yet still bends to your design, it is dangerous, yes, but so is every form of true mastery. A man who cannot handle chaos cannot handle power. Ask yourself, do you control your reputation, or does it control you? Do you craft your image intentionally, or do you let others define it while you react? The difference between kings and common men is that kings direct the myths told about them. They feed the right lies, expose the right truths, and stay silent when the world speculates. You cannot stop people from talking, so you must learn to conduct their whispers like an orchestra. Every rumor, every interpretation, every false tale about you can serve a purpose. A wise man never wastes a misunderstanding. History offers endless examples. Take the Medici, bankers who ruled Florence like monarchs while pretending to be humble servants of the city. Their myth was balance, generosity wrapped around manipulation. When their enemies accused them of corruption, the people said, "Perhaps, but they keep the city rich." That is controlled chaos. Let them doubt you, but make sure their doubt works in your favor. Or consider the modern stage. Politicians, influencers, leaders of industry. They all live behind carefully crafted illusions. A scandal appears, a narrative shifts, a statement leaks, and suddenly their myth deepens. The public thinks they have seen behind the mask, not realizing the mask itself was designed to slip, control the exposure, and even chaos becomes order. Psychologically, this works because humans are addicted to stories. They need coherence, a beginning, middle, and end. When something doesn't make sense, they invent explanations to fill the gap. And if you are wise, you will guide those explanations without ever confirming them. You must learn to live in the gray space between reality and fiction, the place where myths are born. Reveal fragments of your truth, but never the full picture. Show your ambition through action, but let others debate your motive. Give them contrast. Generosity followed by cruelty, silence followed by boldness. The contradiction feeds the legend. A predictable man inspires no fascination, but a man who seems larger than reason, both saint and serpent, becomes unforgettable. The crowd does not love perfection. It worships mystery. They want a story to follow, not a man to understand. Even the appearance of chaos can serve you if it is directed. When you act unpredictably, do it with purpose. Let it confuse your enemies and intrigue your allies. They will think you reckless, yet somehow you always land on your feet. That balance, apparent disorder masking perfect control, is what crowns a myth. And never forget, once the world believes in your legend, you no longer need to prove it. Your myth begins to defend itself. Every action, every silence, every rumor will reinforce the image they already hold. You become untouchable, not because you are flawless, but because your story has replaced your reality. The most dangerous mistake is trying to correct your myth. Never deny a rumor directly. Never fight perception head-on. When you argue against an illusion, you give it life. Instead, redirect it. Let the lie serve you. Turn every accusation into a symbol of strength, every attack into proof of power. The more contradictory your myth becomes, the stronger it grows. Because people cannot destroy what they cannot define. They will debate you endlessly, trying to decide if you are savior or monster, and in that endless debate, you live forever. This is how the few rise above the many, by mastering not truth, but narrative, by accepting that chaos once tamed becomes art. So ask yourself, are you the author of your legend, or merely a character in someone else's? Are you shaping the myth that protects your name, or letting the world write it for you? Because in the end, power is not about being real. It is about being believed. And in the next lesson, you will see how belief, once conquered, makes even reality bow to your design. Power is not taken by force. It is surrendered through illusion. The moment others believe they act by their own will, while unknowingly following yours, you have achieved true control. That is the highest art of manipulation, to guide without touching, to command without speaking, to dominate without appearing to rule. Let them think they understand you. Let them think they choose freely. And when they finally realize the truth, it will already be too late. Control is not about chains or orders. It is about influence hidden beneath perception. When you master that, you no longer chase power. It begins to orbit around you. So tell me, do you rule your world, or does your world rule you? Leave your thoughts below. Subscribe for more Machiavellian strategies that sharpen the mind and harden the spirit. and share this with those who crave control, yet do not see how easily they are controlled.